you do really well on this last one. Now, the last one is 5-4 to 5-6. All right? So the first thing that's going to be on your assessment on Friday is going to be long division. All right? So here we go. Everybody copy this problem in your notes. Today, we're only doing 6 problems. We do one together, and then you do one on your own. All right? So here we go. This is LD, long division. Okay? And you can start volunteering right now if you want to get out of here early. Remember, long division, that guy goes outside of the roof. This guy goes inside of the roof. And then we have to know how to get long division started. Who's going to raise their hand virtually that's going to tell me how I get long division started? Who wants to get out of here early? Mr. Vargas, what do you your hand? Hold on. Sorry, Mr. Vargas. I can't call on you. Your cam is not on. So I need somebody else to virtually raise their hand. Mr. Harder, go for it.
You divide 12x squared by 6x.
Very good. So some of you are so good at long division. Guess what? I'm helping you out. I'm putting long division on our last assessment. So if I divide that, I get 2x. Remember, that is my first answer. The answers go above. Take good notes. You guys, all you need to do is take good notes with everything we do today. Study this stuff, and you'll do really well on Friday. All right, who's going to tell me after I get my answer? Mr. Harder's done. He's probably, even though he has to stay a little bit later today, he's going to get to still leave early. Who's going to tell me what I do after I put my first answer up there? Virtually raise your hand, you guys. Let's go, Miss Alexa. What do you got for me?
You multiply the 2 by the 6.
Very good. And I got to do it by both of those guys, right? Got to do it by both of those guys. Boom. And now is the most important part. Probably the easiest way to help today. Who's going to tell me after I multiply, like Miss Alexa said, what do I do next? Alexis, what do you got for me?
Change the signs.
You change the signs. And after you change the signs, you combine and you bring down anything left over. Then we do what Mr. Harder says. We divide the first thing underneath with the first thing on the outside, and we get 4. That's my next answer, right? Boom, put a 4 right there. Right? Then we do what Miss Alexa said. Miss Alexa said we multiply it by both of these guys out here, and we get 24x. Remember, the first guys will always match up, minus 12. Boom. Then we do what Alexa says, right? We flip the signs. And when we flip them, we like to circle it. And that means I get a -5. So my final answer is 2x plus 4, remainder, -5. Oh my gosh. Probably the easiest answer you could give today. Who could tell me whether or not 6x minus 3 is a factor? Let's go. Who could tell me? Raise your hand virtually. Remember, I'm only calling on you if your cam is on. Miss Rizzo.
It's not a factor.
Why is it not a factor, Miss Rizzo?
Because it has a remainder.
Outstanding. Give me a thumbs up if we're okay with that question, you guys. All right, I need everybody to answer number 1 in Desmos, and then everybody do number 2 on your own. Let's go. It's going to be a great indicator if you're ready for this last assessment. Okay, number 1 in Desmos right now. If not, I'm telling you right now, I'm counting you absent. Okay, and then you do number 2 in Desmos. Okay, and type in your answer. Everybody's got to type in their answer. Mr. Otis, do you have a question or is your hand just still up? I think Ms. Vanek is the only one that communicated to me earlier where it's okay that her cam is not on. She still has to volunteer an answer if she wants to leave early. Okay, you guys will be really smart if you do these on your own before we do them. Here's another long division problem in Desmos. I'll get it set it up here. Then we'll do it all. We'll do it really quickly. I'm not going to do it until I get at least half the answers in Desmos. Some of you are already done, which is awesome. You guys finish strong. Some of us, I know it's like towards the end of the semester, we get a little bit lazy. You cannot get lazy at the end of the semester, okay, you guys? Some people say I need like a little bit more practice. Well, that's what today is. All right, and then remember, you can always show up on Wednesdays. Okay, you can always, always, always show up on Wednesday. And then the last thing I got for you is there is no way I'm going to let you pass if you try to cheat on this last assessment. Okay? Got 2 people last time, right? And I was nice. I was nice. I allowed you to earn back some of your points last time if you cheated. This time, if you cheat, it's just all out. I'm zeroing you out. Okay? You deserve what you get. And you guys, I hate to tell you, it's so obvious when you cheat and how you cheat and all that stuff. So don't do it. Okay, don't do it. All right, I got half of my answers in there, so let's see if you got it right. Step 1, side work. 6x squared over 2x is 3x. Now listen, if you make a little mistake and get this wrong, don't get frustrated. If you pretty much have the process right, I give you a B+ on every problem. And what is the process? Divide, get an answer, then multiply. If that process is right, you are perfect. Like some of you will make a mistake. Maybe you'll forget to switch the signs, or maybe you'll add wrong one time. That's okay, as long as your process is right. Like, did you come over here and do it again? That's the right process. I got 5 as my second answer. Then you might multiply both of those guys by 5. And right, I mean, I know I'm doing it right when the first guys match up. But some of us, we're going to forget to flip the signs, or maybe we'll forget or we'll add wrong or something. That's okay. Boom, there it is. That is not a factor. Why is it not a factor? Because I got a remainder. So many of you guys got that right. That's very impressive. Give me a thumbs up if we can go on. Ask a question if you have a question. Are we good? All right. Now, for what is probably going to be the most okay question on your assessment on Friday. Okay? And that is the next one. Do not go ahead and Desmos, you guys. We do one together, then you do one on your own. All right, this is SD. Let's do synthetic division. Remember, when we do synthetic division, we put a number out here in this right angle. Who's going to virtually raise their hand and tell me what number goes in there? Mr. Vargas, what number goes in there?
-3.
Outstanding. We do the opposite of that, remember. And then it's 1, 1, -14, -27. Boom. All right. Well, you know what? We'll do this together, and then I'm going to need somebody to write the final answer. Remember, the toughest thing about synthetic division is writing that final answer. So remember, what we do here is we drop that 1. Right, we're going to do this together. After you drop that 1, then you multiply, -3. Then you combine, which is add, -2. Then you multiply, +6. Then you combine, -8. Then you multiply, +24. Then you combine, -3. I got a remainder. Remainder is -3, which means that it's not a factor. But here is probably the toughest part. Who's going to virtually raise their hand and tell me, how do I write this final answer? Miss Janicki, go for it.
X squared minus 2x minus 8.
So she did it just the way we did it in class. That last guy is your remainder, and then no x, 1x, 2x's. Now this is just a synthetic division. That's all you got to do to get the right answer. Give me a thumbs up. Are we feeling pretty good? All right, last assessment should be okay. Long division, check. If you're not good at it, practice it. I gave you 2 problems today. Practice those. Here's synthetic division. You guys all have a chance right now to prove yourself. Everybody do question 3 on Desmos. And then we'll do it together. A great indicator to see how ready you are. And the only thing you got to be careful about is make sure you study Thursday night. Last assessment of the semester, you guys. Some of you need it to pass. Some of you need it to keep that A. Some of you are close to an A. And all I'm going to say is don't cheat. If you cheat, I'm going to make sure the gamut comes down. I'm telling you, I'm sick of it. Sick of it. I got some people with answers already, which makes me think that maybe we're working ahead. I'll say it again. Please do not work ahead. And then after this, guess what, you guys? We just got 2 problems to go. You might get out of here like 40 minutes early. But remember, if you get out of here early, you're supposed to be doing your asynchronous work. I do not appreciate those people that when I let you go early, you go and chill or eat breakfast. No way, we are still technically in class. So if I have to hold your hand and we've got to stay here longer, then we'll stay here longer. But come on, get that work done. Right? I give you the opportunity to sit back in your room, listen to some tunes, right? Get some music on there, listen to some Jack Johnson or some Bob Marley, get your work done. I don't know about you, but that's how I like to get my work done. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. I got more than half of you with the answers. So let's see if we got it right. Boom, number goes in the box right there. Boom, I'll help you guys out. Who's going to virtually raise their hand? One of the easiest questions I could ask you. Mr. Otis, what goes in that little box out there?
-5.
See, Mr. Otis wants to get out of here early. Too bad he can't, but I'll still let him get out of here semi-early. All right, so remember, how do we do this? We drop that guy. 2. Then we multiply. -10. Then we combine. 13 and -10 is 3. Then we multiply. -15. 16 and -15 is 1. 1 time. Oh my gosh, we got 0 as a remainder, which means it is a factor. It is a factor. But how do I write that as a final answer? Remainder 0, no x, 1x, 2x's. So it's 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. If you do not have a remainder, you do not have to write remainder 0. Okay? If you don't write anything, it's assumed, insinuated that the remainder is 0. Give me a thumbs up if we're good, please. All right. Last 2 problems. That's it, you guys. Last 2 problems of the day. We're going to do the first one together. And this is the big bad one. This is the one that you've got to make sure you know how to do. Okay, you have to make sure that you know how to do this problem. I hear something clicking at me. Oh, I see no hands up though. Okay. All right. Here we go. So this question, I'm going to ask you 2 things. The first thing I'm going to ask you is to list the possible roots. Ooh, I'm going too fast. Everybody write this problem out. Write that problem out, please, everybody. Oh, there it is. Mr. Harder, what do you got for me, young man?
4 possible roots.
Oh, good job. Okay, so I didn't know you were answering a question for me. It actually means we'll get 4 answers, right? That means 4 roots. When I asked for the possible roots, Mr. Burkett, were you going to help out with this?
Is it 1, 3, 4, and 12?
Not bad. So remember, this is where we write plus or minus the last guy over plus or minus the first guy. All right, and write this out, you guys. It's worth a point. It will be multiple choice. So we'll hook you up on the last assessment. It will be multiple choice just like it is in Math Excel, okay? But I gotta go over how you get these, all right? Remember, to find possible roots, you have to write down all the ways you can get 12, which is a 1 and a 12, right? Mr. Burkett was good. He said you can also get it by a 3 and a 4. But what he forgot was 2 and 6. So you have to write all the ways that you could get 12, all of them. Okay, now I'm going to go through this slowly because this is a multiple choice question on the assessment. Make sure you practice Math Excel. Okay, and nobody go on to Desmos. Okay, so what you do after you list all the way possible, right? This is just possible. Mr. Harder was correct. We're only going to get 4 real answers though. Well, you take the first guy and you divide it by everything on the bottom. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. Let's write that down. It's a possible root. It's a possible answer. Doesn't mean it has to be 1, but it is a possible one. Now, if there was a number like 7 down here, then you would have to do 1 over 7 and list that. But there's not a 7 down there. So that 1 is done. Then you go to the 2. What's 2 divided by 1? 2. If there was a 7 on the bottom, you would have to write 2 over 7. But there's not a 7 on the bottom. So the 2 is done, and we go to 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3. That's my next one. Once again, if there was a 7 on the bottom, you'd have to do 3 divided by 7. But there's not a 7 on the bottom. The 3's done. So we go to the 4. 4 divided by 1, done. 6 divided by 1, done. 12 divided by 1, done. So out of these 4 answers Mr. Harder told me about, some of them have to be those answers right there. Is it a 1? Is it a 2? Is it a 3? Is it a 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 6? Is it a 12? I guess I shouldn't have said 5. Who can tell me by virtually raising their hand? Rather than try all of those numbers with synthetic division, what have I allowed you to do this much quicker? Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, do you have an answer for us? I see your hand up.
Just one of them?
Yeah, well, how do I get one of them?
Oh, I plugged it into my calculator.
Very good. Everybody right now, plug in your calculator. Okay, what do I mean plug in your calculator? Well, you plug in this original function into your y equals. And I'm going to take, you guys have to get out your calculators right now. Let's go. I should see everybody typing. Okay, I've got my problem right there. You wrote it down, but I will leave it up there. Everybody type that in your calculator, please. I'm going to walk it through with you to make sure we're all okay. And you've got to do this. If not, you come to Friday and you struggle because you're not sure how to plug stuff in, and I'm not going to help you. All right, so Ms. Gonzalez did it right. You're not going to want to try all of those numbers. It could take you a long time. And remember, technically what we would have to do is try with synthetic division until we get a factor. And remember, it's a factor if we get a remainder of 0. All right, so if I graph this, now after you plug that in, you hit zoom 6, and then it gives you a pretty graphing window. Now, Ms. Gonzalez told us how to do this, but I'm going to help somebody out. Okay, where does it cross? And it's got to cross perfectly. Who can virtually raise their hand? Who could tell me where it crosses, please? Come on, I'm trying to help you guys out here. Who wants to get out here early? Mr. Hanna, what do you got for me?
1.
Yep, it 100% looks like it crosses at 1. So let's come back here to our notes, and let's go ahead and put a 1 in my synthetic division, because Mr. Hanna says it crosses perfectly at 1. Now, if he is correct, I am going to get a 0 as a remainder, which means 1 will be a factor. So let's go ahead and do synthetic division again, 1. Obviously, if you haven't noticed, synthetic division is very important for this assessment. Sweet! 0 as my remainder. But here is a very difficult part. How do I rewrite this? If 1 is a factor, let's go. You guys have to help me. If 1 is a factor, how do I write it as a factor? Let's go. I need somebody virtually raising their hand. Come on, somebody that hasn't helped out yet. If not, we're going to sit here staring awkward at each other. Miss Janicki, did you help out yet? I thought you did. You did. Mr. Ulanowski, what do you got for me?
It would be x minus 1.
Very good. It'll be the opposite, x minus 1. And then remember, that's remainder, no x, 1x, x squared, x to the third. So then we rewrite everything that's left. Everybody better be copying this down. Now you can finish if that's an x squared. That is not an x squared. Since that is not an x squared, I got to go back and look at my graph. And that means it's going to cross somewhere else. It not only crosses at 1, who else could tell me where it crosses perfectly? Miss Chichon.
+3.
Good job. She's going to get out of here early. It crosses at +3. So now what we do is we do synthetic division with a +3, but you got to make sure you don't use the original problem. You use what's left over. Okay, you use what's left over. And then what do we do? Synthetic. So we drop 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Combine them and I get 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 4 and a 0 is 4. Sweet! We got 0 as my remainder. But now I got to write everything beautifully. All right? 1 is a factor. x minus 1. We knew that already. 3 is a factor, x minus 3. But then I got to write this then. Who's going to virtually raise their hand? How do I write that? That is tough. That is tough. I'll take anybody in the room who's going to virtually raise their hand and tell me how I do that. Miss Janicki, how do I rewrite that?
X squared plus 4.
Very good. And then now I finish these guys, remember? So now I can be done. So I take this first one and I go x minus 1 equals 0. Plus 1, x equals 1. Boom. We already knew that was an answer, right? We knew it, but I do have to show it. Okay? Then we got x minus 3 equals 0. Plus 3, x equals 3. We already knew that was an answer. Right? Ms. Shishan gave us that one. But then I need to get right at the beginning. Mr. Harder said there's 4 answers. I got 2. This other piece is going to give me the other 2. Who's going to virtually raise their hand and tell me how do I get those other 2 answers? Mr. Hayes, go for it. How do I solve that?
You'd subtract the 4 to the other side, then square root it.
Very good. Plus or minus because it's a square root. Now, can I leave my answer like that, Mr. Hayes?
No.
What do I got to do?
You have to bring an I out front.
Very good. I got to bring an I out front. And then do you know what the square root of 4 is?
2.
Yep. If you know the square root, you do it. Boom. So there's 4 answers. One of the answers is 1. Another answer is 3. Another answer is positive 2i. And the last answer is negative 2i. Give me a thumbs up if we're feeling kind of okay. I mean, if you're feeling okay, you're going to dominate this last assessment. We've got one last one to do. You got 3 minutes to see if you can complete it all on your own, and then we are going to do it. All right, let's go. Everybody do number 4. Okay, I will put it here on my screen in a moment. Remember, I don't even care if I can see you. You're not putting these answers into Desmos, it means you're not doing anything, which means you're not really there. So make sure everybody needs to be working on this. Now, in terms of Desmos, I don't want you to put the possibilities. In your notes, I definitely want you to put the possibilities. Okay? Mr. Harder, if you're going with that with your answer, you better take good notes on that. You got this? Mr. Harder?
Okay.
Mr. Vargas, I don't want the possible roots, okay? I appreciate that you're putting in there, Mr. Vargas, but the only thing I want in the final answer for number 4 are, right, I'm going to get 4 answers, right, because I'm going to get 4 roots because it's x to the 4th. So I'm going to get 4 roots. In your notes, put down the possibilities, okay? But in terms of Desmos for your answer, I only want the final 4 answers, okay? And the possibilities, right, would be plus or minus 6 over plus or minus 1. This is what Mr. Vargas was doing. He was doing a great job of it. I will do this part with you, okay? And there will be a question on your test that asks for the possibilities. Okay, so those are the possibilities. So what you guys really need to do at home, and some of you guys are getting it already, that's awfully fast unless you were working ahead, is you have to graph that. You have to graph that. You've got to find out somewhere clean. You got to find out somewhere clean that it crosses. And it's got to be in one of those possibilities that we have here. So it's either plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, or plus or minus 6. That is where it has to cross clean. Okay, and that's how you start all of these problems when it asks you to find all of the roots. And like I said, you still have a couple of minutes. Work through it. Use your notes on the problem we just did. I mean, Ms. Gonzalez already has the answer. Mr. Burkett already has the answer. Kudos, you guys. Ms. Casey's getting the answer. but take your time. They're just obviously dominating this stuff. You got about 60 more seconds. I want to see some more answers in there. And if you can get this one right, you're like pretty darn good to go. And I already have a third of you in there, but I need at least a half, okay, before I take over. And I'll do it together. I'll go really slowly. All right, you guys ask me questions whenever you have them. Just virtually raise your hand. I get a little beep sound. All right, that means you need a little help. Remember, and I remember who you are because I do a little check mark. Okay, you cannot leave unless you volunteered an answer. Okay, and then there's many of you, if you're on my list, you got to stay today. All right, because you're being rude, and I tell you when you can go, you go and you don't do what you're supposed to be. That's just rude. And then you guys practice plugging this stuff into Desmos. This is how they're going with a lot of ACTs and SATs even nowadays. All right, and there's a little button in Desmos where you can click the keyboard and it gives you all the math stuff. Like a square root button is in there, okay? All right, I got a lot of answers, so let's get this guy started. All right, so remember, we graph it. Now here's your chance to get out of here early. When you graph it, what works? What crosses cleanly? Who's going to tell me? Virtually raise your hand. Somebody that hasn't helped yet. Where does it cross? Hayes, you've helped. Burkett's helped. Harder's helped already. Come on, give me somewhere where it crosses clean. Sophia, what you got for me?
-3.
Okay, she says it crosses at -3. Let's see if she is correct. And we all know if she is correct, if it is a factor. And the only way it is a factor if I get a remainder of 0. Let's check it out. Drop it. 1. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Sweet! Remainder of 0 means you got it correct. Now this could be very tough. How do I write -3 as a factor? Let's go. Somebody virtually raise their hand. How do I write -3 as a factor? Mr. Sarnicki, nice. You can get out of here early. What is it?
X plus 3.
X plus 3. Kudos. Very, very well done. Harder, you better be writing this down. All right, and then I got everything left right there. Okay, I've got to write that. Then remember, this is my remainder. No x, x, x squared, x to the third. So we got x to the third minus x squared minus 2x plus 2. Now remember, since that is not an x squared, I got to keep on going. Let's go. Somebody else, virtually raise your hand. What else works? Come on. There's some of you that are going to have to stick around, and some of you deserve to get out of here early because you go and do the math Excel when you need to. Miss Casey, what do you got? There you go, Miss Casey. She's got 1. She's got problems with her mic. So we put a 1 there, and it's a 1, a -1, a -2, and a 2. If she is correct, it's going to give me a remainder of 0. Let's check it out. Good job, Miss Casey. Sweet. So now I got to write all my answers. Well, I got x plus 3. Well, write it over here. X plus 3, that's the one we knew already. 1 was a factor, so we write that as x minus 1. But then how do I write that? Remainder, no x, 1x, x squared. Remember, if it has a 0 in it, we don't write it. Okay, we don't write it. So now here we go. Answers. X plus 3 equals 0, minus 3 minus 3. We all knew this. Remember, you are going to be counted absent. unless you have these answers in decimals, okay? X minus 1 equals 0, plus 1 plus 1, X equals 1. Ms. Casey was correct. And then to finish it up, we got to get 2 more answers because we all know we should get 4 of them. So I got to finish this one, which is add 2, X squared equals 2. I got to get rid of that little 2 up there, which means plus or minus the square root of 2. I don't know the square root of 2. You don't know the square root of 2. So we leave it as the square root of 2. So we've got negative 3 as an answer. We've got positive 1 as an answer. We have positive square root of 2 as an answer. We have negative square root of 2 as an answer. If you guys want to dominate your last assessment, all you guys have to do is redo all of the problems we did today, okay? So make sure you redo them and you will be able to do really, really well on our last assessment. All right, here we go. Now